Hey, my name is Grant Williams, and this is my final project on Afro beats, from the diaspora to the dance floor, the roots behind the worldwide rhythm. So just to set the stage for this whole project here, so what is the African diaspora? So that's going to refer to like the forced and voluntary dispersal of the African people being taken by slave traders from Africa and being forced into slavery and being forced to move over to the West world, whether that be the Caribbean, America, South America, and like places like Brazil. And it's kind of like from my own perspective, just thinking about like Afro beats in general. Originally, I thought it was just kind of like a popular music trend. Didn't really think a whole lot about it. Um, Now I want to get into the story of how that is not the case, and this is like a beautiful art that has been maintained through centuries or a century of like just indentured servitude and hardships and slavery and oppression. It's beautiful. So overall, my thesis is, again, what we're just kind of talking about is mainly, or many people think that Afro beats is just a modern music trend popularized by viral dance videos, global pop stars, shout out Drake. But the truth, as supported by my research on the African or diaspora in the Americas, is that Afro beats reflects deep-rooted cultural exchanges, resistance, and identity shaped by the African experience across the continents. It's not just music. This is a story being told, and we're just kind of cluing into it. So the first thing I want to talk about is just the kind of the historical roots of it. Then I'm going to follow up with how they were used as a form of resistance and to give the people a voice, and then to get into the diasporic influences and the global reach, how like Afro beats and African rhythms influence other genres, and then what they mean culturally as far as like the Africans' identity and pride, and then up until today's modern age of how it got modernized and the globalization of the genre. Alrighty, so how did the music spread? So the spread from the transatlantic slave trade, where we were bringing people, there were slave traders who were bringing people over to the Americas, to the Caribbean, to South America, and those people bring over with them their own culture, their own music, their own food and taste, and that is how we brought that over to the Western world. And from there, whenever they were over here, that continued to again kindle and ignite, and being in a new place with new people and different influences, it created this whole new world of different influences that we now know today. So as we discussed, originally the African rhythm, which then became Afro beats, started off in Nigeria, and we already kind of talked about how it kind of came across. So I want to focus on like the genres influence it. So based off our soapstone, I guess lesson four, the songs, we had to look into like Childish Gambino, Redbone, and so where he's talking about he's having like the blues and the funk and like the Afro like kind of beats or whatever. It's all blending kind of hip hop. It's not even a genre. But the point is though is like it's its own thing, and it's because it has been a blend of those different cultures, and it's absolutely a banger. I love it. It's incredible. With that being said, though, we wouldn't have any of that without, thanks to the African diaspora and those Afro beats and having those kind of ties. So again, as the Afro beats have evolved and been spread, you we find them mixing in with like genres like jazz, blues, reggae, samba, and hip hop, and those all kind of came from those Afro beats and rhythms. And more so, it's not just about the music. Those are also, testaments and voices of people who are living through that time period. So Afro beats have been used in, resistance and voice by people who are under oppression, as we learned in lesson 11, the social analysis based off the music in diaspora, where we looked through the Nez and Damian Marley song, like Patience, where both of them are taking on that kind of like teacher, philosopher kind of stance. And they're talking about issues that are important to them, as such as Africa, colonization, spirituality, pursuit of truth. Childish Gambino, same kind of things. It's like wake up, don't let her catch you sleeping. Same kind of thing. We're telling the society, we're telling them wake up. Hey, there's things that are wrong, and we're listening to it, and it's all again Afro beats. This is where it's come from. And another thing too is like it's also a form of resistance as well. So like from lesson 13, the performing arts, when we talked about the uh, Caperja, I can't remember how to pronounce it, but it's the breakdancing of the Brazilians or whatever, and that again has roots all the way back to Africa, and it's was like seen as like a sort of like resistance or whatever to the government, and that's awesome. So overall, my argument is just that like most people just think Afrobeats is just a modern music trend popularized by viral dance videos, global pop stars. But the truth, as supported by my research on the African diaspora in the Americas, is that Afrobeats reflect deep-rooted cultural exchanges, resistance, and identity shaped by the African experience across the continents. So that's what I love about it. It is a transnational genre that started specifically from Africa, and it's awesome. And this is one of my favorite parts about this project, and actually kind of like helped me connect to my grandma as well a little bit more. With my own diasporic heritage. So I'm, full blown card carrying Cherokee. Don't really look like it, but yeah, I am. So I found as I was doing my research the amazing strong connection between my Cherokees and our forced migration by Andrew Jackson being kicked out from Georgia into the whole reservations and everything is very similar to the whole transatlantic slave trade as far as like we're both got colonized. There's a lot of our music and heritage or whatever came through loss, but we also kind of try to keep our culture. And with that being said, I had a or talk with my grandma, who her grandma was like full blood. That's where I get all of my blood from. And yeah, again, she was like talking about, she's like, we weren't poor, we had land, kin, songs, music. And so that actually was cool because my grandma was telling me that she was like, yeah, that made me realize at the time that it wasn't really about, or poverty, being poor wasn't really about money, you know? It's about kind of like the heritage and like the family. And you're not poor until you don't have your family, and it's more so about your culture and your heritage, right? It's about what connects us. And so, like our Cherokee songs and that culture as well, Afrobeats isn't just entertainment. It's a testament to the survival, pride, identity, and culture, and lasting love through generations through hardships. So, in conclusion, Afrobeats are not just some music trend. This is something that is like a absolutely beautiful movement, and it's honestly really impacted the way that I look at history. Just whenever it comes to how I used to look at it kind of just like facts and dates. And after like talking with my grandma, it was really cool just the way she talked about how her grandmother kind of kept that culture alive, and similar to again mirroring the African diaspora with their Afro beats is like they kept it a culture alive through food, language, and music, right? And so with Afro beats becoming like a mainstream thing, the African culture is alive and evolving. And again, going back to the like why I view history differently, I can now look at history in a more personal way. As I see it more so, it's not just like I said, the facts and dates, but more of like a story of today. It is all just a big story and background story of what I'm listening to on a daily basis when I'm going to the gym. It's amazing. Or like if I'm driving down the car, I'm hearing this music that I've just enjoy. But now I think about it in the whole crazy way of just this is the culture that has traveled thousands of miles just for me to be able to share and to experience and to appreciate. And so, as a conclusion, Afro beats are not just some kind of just music trend. This is generations and generations of art and culture that has been preserved through oppression, slavery, and resistance.